Okay, welcome everybody to 50A. First off, I want to show you guys how to buy free stuff every month on the Epic Game Store. If you go to Unreal Engine Marketplace, free for the month. There will be assets that they give away for free just for the month, and they really are like pretty expensive stuff. So after you buy it, you click Add to Cart, Add to Cart, Add to Cart, Add to Cart. You go up to the cart, buy it, costs nothing. After you own it, then you're going to see something like this, and it'll say like Add to Project. And so this is how you can like import assets into your game world. So if everybody goes ahead and buys the Ultimate Ship pack right now, we can then click on Add to Project, and I'm going to add it to Fall 2023, my current one. Add to Project. And it doesn't tell you how much hard drive space it takes up until you start downloading it. This one is a measly 6 gigabytes of hard drive space. Quite reasonable as far as these things go. Game dev is absolutely murder on your hard drives, and yeah. And after you've downloaded it once, it'll actually cache it. And let's see if I can find where the thing is. Yeah. So my cache right now, no, that's just the engines are 140 gigs. Where's the cached stuff? Yeah, I have cached 260 gigs of stuff in just the cache. Just in case I want to download something again, it's already on my hard drive and can be added to a project. And so it just casually is eating up a quarter terabyte of hard drive space. If you have an M2 SSD, they can be fairly pricey. Yeah, I spent $1,000 on my M2 SSD to get an 8 terabyte SSD. And this is eating up a good, quarter of an eighth of it. So a 32nd of my hard drive is just used for caching stuff that I could feasibly clear, if I wanted to. All these projects, all told, are probably 4 terabytes of stuff. Okay, so you can see here that it is downloading the ship thing. While it's downloading, you can still launch your game. I'm going to come up here and go into my Fall 2023 assignment. And I will show you where the ship appears once you get it. So I think that for today's homework assignment, I'd like for you guys to purchase all the free stuff and put some of it into your world. It's a good experience. There's a ton of free stuff in addition to the free for the month stuff. There is the always free collection. So we go over to Marketplace again, get a response, which Epic Game Store is absolutely terrible. Where is it? Gone. Nope, it just quit. Whatever. I don't care. If you go to the Epic Game Store again, if you go to the free section, there's a permanently free collection, which is really, really good. Epic bought out a company called Quixel, and Quixel makes a business of what's called photogrammetry, which means they go around the world and they take photographs of rocks and things like that. And it's a really cool job, honestly. Like if I wasn't a programmer, like if I was like a photographer, that sounds like a really cool position to have, where you can just like go to Iceland and just like photograph rocks, and people are like, why are you photographing rocks? You're like, these are cool rocks. I'm photographing them, man. All right, don't judge me. And so they get like 3D laser scanners, and they put things on little spinny platforms and laser scan them in 3 directions, or they get a dolly and go around a rock and things like that. And so they actually create very high quality scans, 3D scans of the materials and the meshes of different places in the world, and all of it's free if you use Unreal Engine. So they bought out this entire company, and their entire art collection, which they used to sell for lots of money, is now just free for you. And you can just pull in individual, rocks and things like that and just drop them into your world. And it just makes your game instantly look like 10 times better. And so they've got, in the Mega Scan section here, they've got trees, and they've got objects, and they've got materials, and all sorts of cool stuff that you can import into your world. Unreal Engine also has flickering thing going on there. It's also got Quixel Bridge, which I don't know if I have installed here. Maybe I don't have it installed. But yeah, for some of you guys, you might have Quixel Bridge installed here. And you can just click on it and then immediately import materials from Quixel right into your game world. It's pretty cool. Let's see if I can enable that. Plugins, Bridge. It is installed. Okay. Quixel Bridge. There we go. Actually, yeah, there's like a... There we go. Okay, so this is Quixel Bridge, and you can just do things like, let's grab a 3D asset. I want, sure, a Japanese stone lantern. That looks cool. And then I have to sign in. Yeah, I don't remember my password. 1 second. Always the hardest thing in computer science is remembering your password. Okay, so I'm logged in now. I've clicked on this asset. I can click what quality I want. Let's do nanite. Why not? Downloading, and you'll see this thing work for a little bit. And then let's see if we come over here. Oh yeah, so the ship is now downloaded. And so whenever you import something to your project like that, which again, Epic Games Launcher, you click on something, and you click on Add to Project, then you click on your project. Oh, if you get one of these incompatible thingies, click Show All Project, and then find your project anyway. It's going to be like, it's not compatible with 5.2, so you pick 5.1, and it's 90% likely to work anyway. So I don't remember what it was on, Moab Desert. Okay. And then if you are inside of Quixel Bridge, like that, it's downloaded, boom. There we go. So here we have the Japanese stone lantern, and we just drag that out into the world now. And there we go. So that's how easy it is to import stuff into your game. The Quixel Bridge makes things really easy. And if you look at this, this is like chef's kiss, high quality artwork. Like I can zoom in on this thing, and you can see all the details. You know what I mean? Like that is really, really fancy looking art. And I had to do absolutely nothing to make that mine, right? So you can zoom in, and you can see like that's pretty darn good for how much effort? Right? Not very much effort, right? The hardest thing in using Quixel Bridge is just remembering your password to log in. Now you might notice, oh shoot, I can run right through this thing. Yeah, this is something you'll notice when you're importing assets. Some of them come with collisions, and some of them don't. So if you do not have collisions on the mesh, you can double click on it, and it'll let you look at it. And again, you can really zoom in on these things and see it's really good for something that is free and takes all of 5 seconds to find and click on and download and add to your project. You can go to collision here, and you can add a collision to the lantern. Probably for this one, I would use a box simplified collision, and you can see that's probably okay. If you want something better, you can do like a 20, and then it's going to try and wrap it in a convex hole that looks a little bit better. I don't know if it's worth the effort. Depends what you're doing. But depends what you're doing. But I think auto convex apply. Yeah, it's not bad. You can see there's areas of it that's sticking out. It really depends. If you have like a laser and you want fine grain control over it, you could probably do something better. But that's pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and save that. And again, in order to make this collision here, I just went to collision, auto convex, hit apply. You can add more holes, more vertices to get better precision on it. I think this is probably fine. And so when I come into my world now, walk over here, I bounce off the lantern like I should. And I can probably, it's not bad. It's not bad. I'm actually resting on that little lip of the, yeah, maybe not. Well, yeah. Okay. So you can add collision to things. It's like that little lantern, or not lantern, that sculpture there has collision on it. This wall has collision on it. That has collision on it, but the bushes don't. Right, so you can walk right through those. So you can choose to add collisions to things by, again, double clicking on the mesh, going to the collision, and then picking one of the options here and hitting OK. All right, so let's see if we can do something better than just a little demo world here. Let's try and open it up. Let's make this world a bigger place. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the walls. I'm going to take us from a little demo world known as third person template world, and I'm gonna make a real world around it. So I'm going to click on that and delete the floating words there, so it doesn't look like I'm just completely stupid. This material, I can mess with it later. Right now it's still got those floating laser beam things, kind of distracting. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to first show you what happens if you fall off the world. Okay. So there's the edge of the world, and I jump. Goodbye, cruel world, and I'm dead. That's it. There is inside of the world settings, which you can find somewhere. I have them hidden right now. Window, world settings, and I'll dock it up here where I usually like it. You can see inside of world settings, and I found that again with window, world settings, and I'll open up a tab in the bottom right, and I'm docking it up here because I just like having a little bit more visibility. And I usually don't use the outliner and all three of these at the same time, so having all this extra screen real estate is nice. And you will see that there is what is called the kill Z plane. And so the Z direction is down, and all the units in Unreal Engine are centimeters. So this is going to kill you when you drop 10 meters below sea level, so to speak. So once you drop 10 meters below sea level, you die, and the game's over, and it freezes. And this is probably going to present a problem because in a little bit I'm going to make a landscape, and I might put canyons into it, and then I won't. I'll just die if I enter a canyon. So I'm actually going to add an extra 0 in here and drop the kill plane from negative 10 meters to negative 100 meters. How many people here in a video game have ever fallen out of a game world? Like you're walking up steps and all of a sudden you fall through it and you're falling through infinite space. How many people have had that happen to you before? Yep. It's annoying. And sometimes it'll glitch you out and you just fall forever. Yes, it's a feature in Bethesda games. Yeah, you're just walking down the street and you just fall through the floor. That kill plane is for that, right? So like you fall out of the world, and then instead of falling infinitely, now I'm going to fall 100 meters before I die, right? World of Warcraft actually had their development environment down below the surface of the world, and so people would glitch out through stairs and things like that, and then fall through the world into the development zone and see what the developers were working on, which is pretty cool. So yeah, but if you die through the kill plane, that's it. There's no response to anything anymore. So you're gonna have to make your way back. I'm gonna use the outliner to fly back up. Okay. So, but I don't want just infinite space here. What I want is a world. Okay. So let me show you guys how to make a world landscape. All right. So I've deleted the walls so I can see outside. The world origin, by the way, the 0, 0, 0 in the world is like right around here. Right there, I think. So I'm going to make a world. I'm going to make a landscape. And I'm going to do that by coming to here. And you can see that there's some different options up here. We've been playing in selection mode the entire time. That's where you can like select objects and move them and rotate them and give them materials and things like that. We're going to come into the landscape mode. You might see foliage coming up next. We're going to go into landscape mode. And right now there's no landscape. And so when you first go into landscape mode, it looks a little different than most of the times when you go into landscape mode. Because most of the time when you go into landscape mode, it's for editing the landscape. But the very first time you do it, it is in this landscape generation screen. And you can see this cool Tron looking thing. And you can see this landscape's actually going to come above my platform there. Okay. And so I'm actually going to drop the landscape down just a little bit. Like here, maybe. And then I'm going to leave everything else as the default. The material I'm going to pick as grass. Grass is usually a pretty inoffensive material to use on landscape. And so the way that I found that, by the way, anytime you have a browsing screen like this, a material picker in this case, you can just search for grass and then it'll pop up. So very few people will have the time and patience to like scroll through every material in the world, especially after you've started importing things. Like all the materials on the ship will be there, and it gets pretty bad. So usually we search for things that we know. And then we hit fill world, and we don't have to do whatever. You don't have to fill world, and then create. And then fill world is actually going to maybe tank our frame rate. So we'll let it think for a little bit. The fill world made the landscape a lot bigger than what I was intending to. So you see my Unreal Engine is now frozen, as it is generating quite a large landscape. There we go. And quite big. And you can see that my platform is exactly at the same height as the landscape. And so the flickering you're seeing there is something called Z fighting, or a Z conflict, or there's different other words for it. What's happening is that the surface of the world, the landscape, is exactly at the same height as the surface of the platform that I put it on. And when that happens, due to the imprecision of floating point numbers, sometimes one of them will randomly round to be on top, and sometimes one of them will randomly round to be on the bottom. And so you get flickering as it's randomly drawing one of them or the other one. And the way that you can solve that is by going to selection mode and selecting something and just pull it up a little bit. Even if you pull it up like 1 centimeter, then the fighting will go away. Okay. You just need you can't even see the lip here, right? But I pulled it up just 1 centimeter, and that's enough to get it to stop the really annoying flickering. How many of you guys have seen flickering like that in video games before? Like somebody put a rug on the ground, and the rug is exactly at the height of the ground, and so the rug will sit there and flicker like this. It sometimes draws the floor. It sometimes draws the rug. Yeah. It's a very common thing because, well, if you have snap to grid turned on, then everything is at height 0 or height 10 or height 20. And so when you put a 0 thickness rug on an object, it'll be exactly at the height of the object. And so it requires a little bit of intervention from the developer to just take that rug and just tug it up a little bit, 1/4 of a centimeter up. It's enough so that it will always draw on top. Halo Forge, you can make it happen. Yeah, it's an incredibly common bug, glitch. It's not really a bug, graphical glitch. And you can see here, you can't even see the lip, but I did pull it up very, very slightly. And now you can see my platform is still there. Okay. So also sometimes in Bethesda games. Yeah. If it's a glitch, Bethesda is your man. All right. So let's come back into landscape mode here. So in order to pull the platform up, I had to go back into selection mode, because you can't select things in landscape mode. You can only select the landscape in landscape mode. You can't select objects in landscape mode. You have to go into selection mode for that. So I'm going to go back into landscape mode. And this is what you normally see when you're in landscape mode. You've got a couple of different tools over here. You've got paint, you got manage, sculpt. Those usually what we mess around with. And if you click and drag, you can actually make mountains now. Cool. Right? That's pretty neat. Now the trouble is, of course, these mountains don't look very realistic, right? It kind of looks like you're taking clay and just sort of like smushing some Play-Doh around. But you can, just kind of click. The longer you hold, the higher it goes up. That's a highly realistic mountain, right? So using like little clicks, little drags, things like that, you can make it a little bit irregular and make it look a little bit better than just the melted tofu, melted plastic look that you usually get out of the sculpting tool. And so there's ways of making this better. But this is all right. This is okay. This looks better than what we had before, which was a featureless plane. So we got some rolling hills here, and rolling hills are okay. Nobody's going to be complaining about the hills looking unrealistic when they're kind of low and rolling. What do you guys think? I mean, the texture, I want to work on this texture, the material here. I want to work on that for sure. Like, as far as, like, the shape of the mountains goes, are you guys fine with that? Like, does that look okay, at least? Not glaringly bad. Yeah? Okay. So, it's alright. I'm not going to win the, art prize for this, but, for, 30 seconds of effort, it's not too bad. Okay. So that is called sculpt. Now, what if you wanted to sculpt downwards? What if you wanted to make a canyon? If I hold down shift and click, you can see it will carve downwards. Okay. And so you can make canyons and things like that. Again, be careful if you've not changed your kill Z plane, you will jump off this and die. Right? The second you get 10 meters down, it will kill you. And then you'll have to remember that your professor told you about the thing. So you can shift click and kind of create little depressions, things like that. It makes it a little more interesting. I'm going to try and keep it away from my platform there. If the brush is too big, like this is a pretty wide brush, I can pull the brush size in like this and just create little depressions like what students have with my little homework assignments. And you can change the fall off, which is how round or how sharp the edge of the brush is. You can give it a very square, fall off if you want. Just, kind of mess that a little bit. Clay brush makes it work a little bit differently. See that? So you just play with these things. This is what you're going to be doing for your homework assignment tonight. You're going to be importing some objects into Unreal Engine, and then you're going to be messing with the landscape. Okay, so let's see if I can find a stop to that here. I'm going to carve downwards over here. And then there's the smooth tool. So I've got these smooth edges here. So I'm just going to take the smooth tool, left click and drag, and create a. See, that looks a little odd. So I'm going to kind of smooth that out a little bit. Just creating happy little valleys, right? Just making a little depression here so that. So from the point of view of the player, I'm going to put my ship over here. So I'm going to actually carve this down a little bit, so that maybe the player, when you do this, you're like, so basically what I want is like when the player is here, they can see that there's going to be like a lake out there with a ship on it. I didn't want that little ridge blocking my line of sight. This looks pretty good. This looks fairly natural too. Like these kind of rolling hillsides and things like that. Like I said, I want to mess with the material and make it look a little better. I want to add some foliage and grass and things like that and make that look better. But for now, I'm just messing with the terrain. This hill looks a little dopey. So if I wanted to flatten the hill, which I don't, but if I wanted to flatten it, I can use the flatten tool. That creates like plateaus and things like that. This is very useful when you're making like a base or a city, because like if you have any irregularities, like if I sculpt downwards, then all of a sudden you have these things and you're just like, you like try smoothing it and it just, it doesn't work right. And so what you can do is you can do flatten and then just drag like that, and then boom, right? No gaps underneath the foundations of your buildings, which is very nice. And so flatten, like if I were to put like an outpost, like a castle maybe, or an outpost or a tower up here, I would probably use the flatten tool and just create myself a little plateau, and then I can put all my materials and objects and things like that on the flat surface. A ramp, I don't use ramp very often, but you can like ramp things like this. And let's see. Let's see. I don't know. You could basically make a... Okay, add ramp. There we go. Okay, so if you wanted to make a smooth, like walkway up to the tower up here, let's say, ramps your tool. I don't use it very often because it looks kind of unnatural. You know, it looks kind of like a driveway, and if you're doing nature, it doesn't look very good. But you know, it's there if you need it. This looks a little interesting. This. Actually, I'm gonna add a little bit of noise to this. So noise randomly moves things up and down, and so you can use noise to make. Let's see, tool strength. And so you can add little variations using noise, make the brush size really big, and you see all that like open, completely flat terrain over there. I can just drag around it. Yep, that was too much. And just instantly, that's good. It's way too strong. Tool strength. Let's way tone that down. And so you just randomly add. Let's make the camera faster. So with the noise tool, I can just sit there and just click and drag around, and I'm gonna randomly get mountains, and by default you get values, but I have it set to only add right now. But you can do both add and subtract, and then it'll depress some areas and elevate some other areas. And I can make the brush bigger even than that, 16,000, and just really just go ham on this, and really just, you know, depending on the settings you pick, you can have very noisy terrains, or you can have more smooth looking terrains like that over there. Really just depends on what you're looking for. So you can just make all this stuff look a lot more detailed. That looks pretty bad. That's way too strong. So I come in here and smooth it a little bit. Smooth it out a little bit. There is erosion, which will wear away the tops of the mountains. This. So you can do erosion to kind of wear things down. What do you guys think? Pretty cool, right? Melting and melting. Then there's hydro, which simulates water erosion. So you can do this, and it drops some like water essentially on the surface. Let's drop the brush size down to something more reasonable. So you can like see that it's kind of like eroding. It's like when the water goes into a hole, it keeps going into that hole more, like that. And so erosion creates these kind of like weird, like realistically it would actually create a river in a channel. So I've actually done water erosion, looks better than this. And then you might have to come in and smooth it, fill in those holes because they look a little unnatural. And you can like smooth out a lot of the high noise things over here. And that mountain looks pretty bad. I'll leave it. It's kind of cool. Just kind of smoothing these guys out a little bit. Yeah, it's pretty good. If you want to eliminate terrain, you just use flatten, just kind of like that, and create, you know, zones where the player can walk and things like that. So the area that I'm in over here, let's go ahead and play the world. You can see we've now got interesting mountains off in the distance. We've got my little ramped area here. Little flat zone on top where I can put like a castle or something. And then I can fill this area down here with water. So if I fill this with water, I could put in a pirate ship or something like that. So let me go ahead and do that right now. What do you guys think of the terrain? Any suggestions? This is very quick and dirty. The noise tool very quickly allows you to generate random terrain, but you have to be very careful because the noise could be too high, it could be too fast. I kind of like just using add instead of add and subtract, so you don't get those little areas like this where like it goes down really deep and up really deep, which is unusable for a player. Something like this looks a little bit better, I think. Just instantly generating mountains like that. After saying the landscape to grass by Unreal locked up, yeah, it'll do that. It will do that. And then later on, you can learn how to paint on the terrain itself. Let me do foliage really fast. Do I have any foliage loaded? I don't. Let me go back to the Epic Games launcher. Search for like flowers or something like that. Of course, on Epic Games Store, search doesn't work. Billion-dollar company can't get search to work. Dreamscape Nature, that's kind of cool. It's kind of like more cartoony. Grass environment set, maybe. Should be like 100 flowers or something. Flowers and plants, yeah, let's do that. Okay, flowers and plants, we'll add that to fall 2023. And then while that's downloading, I'll go and show you how to put the ship in. Okay, so we're over here. I'm going to add a water, very quick and dirty water. I'm going to show you guys how to do water properly later. I'm just going to drag out a plane. And a plane is just a 1x1. It is just a 1x1 tile. And so I'm going to scale this thing up crazy high, way bigger than it should, which is going to distort the material on it. But like I said, this is just a little quick and dirty water. And you see how it like follows the contours of the thing. Later on, I can show you guys how to animate this, and it'll actually simulate water flowing in and out. It's a fun trick. Make it a little bigger. I'm just scaling it right now. That's pretty good. Okay. That's all right. And then for the material, I'm going to go over to details here. And for the material, I'm going to pick water of some sort. Water lake, water ocean, why not? Water ocean it is. You'll see everything on this thing is stretched like crazy high. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat a little bit here. I'm going to go to materials. I picked the ocean material. Does search work? Of course it does. Instead of Unreal Engine, search does work. It's inside of the Epic Games Store that it doesn't. So I'm going to duplicate this thing here. I'm going to create water ocean 1. Why not? Cut. Let's just put this into the build directory. Why not? Move here. Okay. And oops. Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to apply water ocean 1 to this. I'm not editing the original one, so I can leave that one alone. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the material here. And if you guys remember, we talked about last time, there are these things called text coordinates. And that changes how often something scales, how often the texture repeats on the surface. Now, because I've scaled the... this thing downloading still? It is, okay. Because I've scaled up the plane here, how many times? 44 times in the X direction, 80 times in the Y direction. Oh, no. Sorry, 80 times in the... Yeah. Maybe I'll make it 80 and 80 just to make it square. I wonder if 50-50 will work. Almost. Just want a nice, even number to play with. That looks good. Okay, so it's 50 meters wide, 50 meters wide the other way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make all of these textures tile 50 times more often. So over here, you can see it's tiling once every 20 meters. I'm going to multiply 5 times 50. 0.05 times 50 times 10 is 0.5, so I'm going to change this to 2.5, and I'm going to change this one to 4. So I'm multiplying all of these tiling values by 50. So 0.18 times 50 sounds to me like 9. And this one should be 7.5. So find all of the text chord nodes and multiply them by 50. Just kind of scroll around a little bit. You can do Control F as well. So 0.75 times 50 is 37.5. And we got one more over here. And this guy is 1. Well, that's easy. 1550. And we're going to save that. And you can see now the ocean here looks not bad. You can see that water here, yeah, it's pretty decent. So I fixed the scaling on it. There's better ways of doing this, but as you know, quick and dirty approaches go, this one works pretty well. All right, so we've got our ocean, and if we were to come out here and run on our ocean, I don't have to sprint. This is not. Every semester I'm like sprint. You might notice that we are walking on water like Jesus. We can turn that off, or we can leave it on. What do you guys think? If we turn it off, we'll just fall through and look up and see nothing. So what do you guys want? Do you want solid water like this? I told you we're going to do better water in the future. Do you want solid water, or do you want to be able to fall through and break the illusion that there is water at all? Stream closed. Interesting. Okay. How about now? Yep. What do you guys think? So what I did with the water, for those of you that lost the stream, all of these text chord nodes, I made my own. I duplicated the ocean water. Then I went to the text chord nodes and multiplied all the values by 50. And so that caused, like this one here used to be like 0.18. 0.18 times 50 is 9. This one here was 0.15, or yeah, 0.15 times 50 is 7.5. So I just went through all the text chord nodes and just multiplied them by 50. Why 50? Because the plane here that I dragged out, a plane by default is 1 by 1. And so I scaled the thing up to 50 by 50. So I changed the tiling of the material to tile 50 times more often. So it's a, you know, if you guys want to see what it looked like before, if you lost the stream, it used to look like this. See, everything's all distorted and horrible looking. With the fixed version, it looks pretty good. So let me come back in and I'll take my vote again. Right now the water is solid, which I don't know. Like in Halo, you can't swim at all, so I don't know. I don't know why Master Chief can't swim, but he can't. So right now the water is solid and we're walking on it. The alternative is we can fall through the water, but there's no underwater area, right? That's a whole nother lecture. What do you guys want? Do you want solid water, or do you want water you can fall through? What do you guys feel? Fallen would be cool. All right, let's do that. So I'm going to click on the plane here. Now, how do I turn off collision settings? Well, anytime you have an object selected, you can scroll down on the details panel. I have the details panel open here. You can scroll down. You can see that there is a section called collision. And there are several presets. And the preset I'm going to choose for this is no collision. So if I do no collision like that, then when I come over here, again, no sprint, then I can just walk through it like that. But when I go underneath, you can see there's no water above me. It kind of breaks the illusion a little bit. Like I said, it's a whole nother lecture on getting water to work right. For now, we're just doing the quick and dirty. All right, so we are now going to go to ship, and I've never worked with this asset pack before, so give me a second. Pirate meshes. Okay, got booty. Lighthouse Island meshes. Ooh, they have their own water. That's cool. That doesn't look very good. Let's not do that. Okay. Maybe. Let's see if they got. No, this is terrible. Okay. So let's not do that. Let's do the boat. So we go to boats, meshes. Let's see here. Ships. Ship main body. Ooh, that's cool. It's a little bit too big for my dorky little lake. That's for certain. Well, maybe we'll do this smaller one then. So let's come up into boats, meshes, and just drag a little wooden boat out here. This. Tilt a little bit sideways. Drag a couple paddles out. Camera speed's way too put in that warlock there. Try out another paddle. That looks pretty cool. Like it's keep missing that warlock. There you go. And so that's how you can import assets into Unreal Engine. So you go to the Epic Games Store, purchase content pack. This guy has collision on it, and you can just kind of put out whatever props you want, and there you go. Like it's pretty good looking. Like that's that's $100 asset pack. It looks a lot better than my modern art walls over here, for sure. So if my lake was bigger, I would have gone with the big ship, but to make my lake bigger, I would have had to rescale the water, and I'm kind of done with that right now. So yeah, for your homework assignment, basically import that kind of stuff, and then you can put buckets around, and you just like decorate your buckets and bananas and fish, and you just drag things out and make your world look cool. All right, so there you go. Just kind of put things around, make your world look neat. When you're a programmer like me, you don't really make your own art assets. You can, but like the art assets I tend to make are cube. Look, this is an enemy. It's chasing you. It's a killer Terminator cube. Yeah. Maybe for some games you can get away with that. But generally speaking, I like importing art assets from other people. If you're an art person, there's, you can make a whole career in video game development just making assets that other people can purchase. So if you go into the Epic Game Store and go into Marketplace, there's stuff that's not free. Now, I don't recommend you guys spend money on this class. I am very sensitive to, cost measures and things like that. But there's a lot of cool stuff, And so if you're an artist, you can sit there and make flowers and bushes and things like that, and then sell it. And it's got 18 different meshes and 131 textures, and then people who are doing game dev will just hand you $28, and then they can use it in their games. And so there's a lot of people that make full-time careers out of game dev that don't actually make games. They support people making games, kind of like during the gold rush, right? They're the people that are selling the blue jeans to the miners to do the gold rush, right? Yeah, this is the level of art that I make. So, got like 5 minutes left. So let's go into foliage mode. And so I wanted to tell you about doing foliage. Double click opens up the material editor. I don't know if there's a thing more specific than that. Edit, yeah. Just double click it. It's the shortcut. Okay, so in foliage mode, what you can do is you can add flowers and trees and things like that you wish to spray paint kind of onto the world. So if I go into flowers and plants and pick some flowers that look cool, that one looks cool. Yeah, sure. And then that one looks pretty cool. Sure. Some grass, maybe. I'm just picking things that'll be randomly selected. Oh, that's pretty. And I'm picking 2 different versions of them, so you don't keep seeing the same instance of a flower over and over again. Let's see what else. Let's see if we can find some grasses up in here. Some grass. Yeah, it's good enough. Okay. So after you've got your things kind of loaded up like that, if you spray paint, you will see grass appear and flowers appear. Pretty cool, right? And you just make your world as vibrant and as lush as you want. You might notice some things. So the grass doesn't appear on the it's a race, maybe. Let's see, race. If you want to carve a path to the down the road here, and if you want to erase things off your platform here, give it a little trim there. What do you guys think? Pretty cool. And that makes grass. Now you might notice there's some bald spots. And the reason for that is because they're set not to place on steep hillsides. You'll see that they angle themselves based on the hillside. Once the hillside gets to a certain level of steepness, then they don't draw at all. You can edit these things by clicking on the individual thing and come in here, and you can see that there is a maximum slip of 45 degrees. So you put a maximum slope of 90 degrees, then you can see some flowers popping in there. No collision by default. So You can walk through the grass instead of having the grass bounce you. And this makes a pretty big difference to your game. You know, like this is like it just went from being like this sort of like austere 1980s looking, you know, like this landscape, which it looks like a video game from the mid 90s, right? Now all of a sudden with all the foliage on it, like that's pretty lush. You know, if I spent more than like 10 seconds picking out my flowers and grasses and things like that, then I would be able to make like beautiful carpets of grass. You can edit how often each of the flowers appears. If I hit escape here, you can click on each one of the flowers here, and you can say its density, so how often it appears. So for example, if I made this 1000, then you will see how the blue flowers are now all over the place, right? You just get blue flowers everywhere. Everyone gets blue flowers. And because I changed the angle that it'll draw on, it's also covering up all those bald patches there. And then you can make some things more rare. So for example, the yellow flowers, for whatever reason, you lower the density on them to 1, and then you'll basically get no yellow flowers, probably. Yeah, I don't see any. So you can play with the you can play with all these things. Align to normal means they will angle themselves on the. You see how they're like tilted at an angle, like I showed you before. So if you have it not aligned to normal, it'll grow up rather than out. Like that, you can change the max and minimum angles they'll attach to. Random yaw means they will randomly pick an orientation, 360 degrees. You can have them scale. This will be fun. So if you have random scaling, some of them will be big, and some of them will be small. You see that? And so the big ones are obviously the ones you see here. But if you zoom in real close, you'll see some of them are small, and some of them are absolutely tiny. It's like Alice in Wonderland plants right now. I usually don't recommend this wide a variation in scale, but going like, you know, maybe 80% bigger, 20% smaller, 20% bigger. If you do that, let's see here. They're kind of too small to see. But you can see how it creates a little bit of variation in the height, which looks good. The blue here, I'll set its density. Oh, set it to like 0.8 to 1.2 because those are the taller ones here. And so if we do this, now when you look at it from the side, you can see some of the blue plants are taller, some of the blue plants are shorter. Whereas if we go back to the original guys over here, they're all basically the exact same height, which looks a little bit unnatural, right? And so I highly recommend adding variability into your foliage. In fact, I'm probably gonna just erase all of this and start over with something I like a little bit better. But yeah, either way. Yeah, it's good enough for now. So that is our lecture for today. So your homework is to make a landscape, make foliage, import some assets, make your world look nice. And we're going to start getting into programming next week. So now that you know a little bit about materials, you know a little bit about landscaping foliage, you can kind of start building your world. You put objects in it, you put walls in it, and you can start getting to a point like this where things actually start looking pretty nice. You know, like I said, I would want to erase all this and add more variability and really play with the frequency of the flowers versus the grass. Usually you want the grass a little bit more dense and flowers a little bit less, you know, common. But this is actually pretty beautiful. So, you know, maybe I'll just say good enough for now and leave it. Okay. Any questions before we sign off for the day?